Edson Barboza is going to fight this weekend. As somebody asked him a question, Edson Barboza, the fastest kicks I've ever seen, but he's one of the hardest pound for pound kickers in the entire sport. And they asked him a question as it had to do with his kicks and the injury to Chris Weidman. I thought it was a very good question. I thought, that's a great question, because the pretext of it is quite simply, are guys going to quit throwing kicks? Are they going to be more hesitant to throw kicks based on what they saw happen to Chris Weidman by him throwing a kick? I think that's a great question. Barboza said, no, not for me. That's all part of it. I'll take the risk. Okay. That's one guy's take, but it's also a take of a guy where that's one of his biggest weapons. I think that's probably very much the right answer for Edson Barboza, but it would make me think twice. And it would make me encourage other guys to think twice as well. Now, don't think it from Edson's standpoint, where that is your biggest weapon. That is your greatest tool. Your entire game plan and strategy is predicated on the notion and idea that not only do I throw, but I land successfully a whole bunch of leg kicks. Because I don't know that there's anybody else in the sport that counts on them the way that Edson does. I don't know if there's anybody else in the sport. I mean, Chris Weidman is one of those guys. Chris Weidman, I don't know what was going to happen between Chris and Uriah, but I can tell you the leg kick had nothing to do with it. Whoever was going to win that fight, right, if Weidman was going to win that fight and he never landed a leg kick, he's still going to win the fight. It wouldn't change it. Do you understand how I'm saying that? And I think there's a lot of other guys in the sport that are the same way. They're not going to do enough damage. They don't use the leg kick to set something up quite enough that the squeeze is worth the juice. And it's relevant when we talk about that tactic. A general rule on leg kicks is that's how you finish a combination. Always start with the hands, finish with the kick. That's relevant, because if you needed to come out there to do a kick to get the rest of your offense going, it's going to be very hard to stop this no. But I do think the reporter that asked that brings up something very fair. And if I was to guess, I would think, yes, it will make guys think twice. If I was to make a suggestion, it should make guys think twice. It's a very good tool for the leg kickers out there that hear me say, I'm not putting down leg kicks. I'm not like one of the Diaz brothers where leg kicks just don't count or matter. I think that they count and matter. They're greatly overplayed. In all fairness, they're greatly overplayed. Kickboxing itself, the guys didn't used to throw kicks. They found that kicks were very ineffective. So you're having kickboxing matches where the guys that are winning and doing the best are only throwing hands. So the sport of kickboxing actually had to step in at one point. The year, I believe, was 1991. And enforce a rule that you must throw 3 kicks per round or you can lose a point. But I think that that's relevant to know. Kickboxers themselves, pure kickboxers, realized that throwing kicks isn't overly helpful. You're now standing on one leg. You're wide open for things down the middle. Please don't respond to me and tell me Chael just put down kicks. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. What I'm trying to say is if there is a weapon that is coming with tremendous risk, and we know that this is because it's fresh on our mind, right? A la Chris Weidman. If you have that kind of weapon, should you think twice about throwing it? I think that it is very reasonable. The possible risk versus the possible reward. I think it's one of those things where you could have a conversation. You need to understand kicks. I respect kicks fully. And kicks will end the night on a guy who doesn't study them. And I'm talking more from a defensive standpoint. Learning to check a kick you'll learn that in 30 seconds. Getting the timing for it, that could take you the better part of a lifetime. But learning the actual technique of checking a kick and where you turn the shin is something that you can do to learn to throw that straight right down the middle. It's what Tim Sylvia did over Rico Rodriguez to win himself a world championship. He waited for Rico to throw, and Tim just threw one hand, went home with the belt. It's one of those techniques that, are you getting enough out of it? Is it fully worth it? If it's a range issue, I would encourage you to go to the John Jones, what's called the oblique kick. And before John Jones was doing that to hurt people, Hoist Gracie was doing that, but Hoist was doing it just no range, right? You throw a jab a lot just for range, a little bit of a distraction, but also to know where you're at. Sometimes you got to do that kick for that same reason. But if you're talking about a straight kick, impact coming to the sole of your foot, it's very different than a kick at full speed where you're looking to hit the shin and you could be checked with the hardest part of his body, which is known as a knee. I thought the reporter that asked that question, man, I was really happy that they did. I thought it was very above board. And I get where Edson Barboza's response to the question that I'm sitting here doting on is not what I would have, and it's also not what I think most guys are going to come to. But for Edson personally, he's right. There's risk with it. This is the game that he knows how to play. He sets his stuff up well. He throws very fast. Jose Aldo's another one. Jose Aldo's probably never going to have a leg kick check, but it's the combination. Bom, bom. He comes right to your body, and on the opposite side, on his way out, he drops that devastating leg kick. But he never walks out and just in the open does it, right? It's some food for thought. We don't want what happened to Chris Weidman. It's not just, oh my goodness, Chris, I'm so sorry that happened to you, and I hope you get better. That's not enough. It's not enough. You want to show any kind of respect to Weidman, it has to be a learning experience. This has to be a moment where we learn. And I think there is going to be some adaptation. I think a number of fighters are going to realize, with or without the kick, that's not going to change the result, at least for me and my style. Barboza's not one of them. But I suspect we're going to hear this same question. I suspect we're going to hear different answers.